Hello and welcome to Video Revealed. I'm Colin Smith. Let's look at the new captioning and subtitle update in Adobe Premiere Pro. Well, let me start by saying bravo Adobe for doing it right. This almost seems like version 3. It includes so many things. It has everything you need to create, edit, copy, paste, convert, and export subtitles or captions in any format you can think of. It's incredible. I've created a complete tutorial of making them, editing them, and exporting them in a number of formats, including uploading to YouTube. So we'll get to that. I want to thank Jonathan Van Bilsen and his show Photos and Travel for allowing me to use this footage. I interviewed him, and we've got a 10-minute interview that I transcribed in Premiere Pro. Now I'm going to be showing you the auto transcribe feature, which is still an early release. So not everyone has this. You can apply for it and see if you get let into the program. But what this does is it uses your audio and automatically transcribes that speech to text. It's incredible. So let's have a look at doing that first. If you have a look here, you can see that there's a new workspace, the Captions workspace, and you can also get to the new panel. It's called Text. I'll show you why in a second. But if you click on the Captions workspace, it will open up all the panels, the Essential Graphics panel to edit. And the reason it's not called the Captions panel is because it includes the transcript, which is text, and captions. So from the transcript, you can create a transcription or you can transcribe the sequence that I have here. So clicking on the Transcribe Sequence button gives you options on what you want to transcribe. So you get to pick the track, whether it's the mix track or a specific audio track. You can also have clips that are tagged as dialogue, so they can be mixed in with different things. You pick the language, and then you can also transcribe just the in and out point and merge. So you can do edits after the fact. Once you're ready to go, you push the transcribe button, and Premiere Pro will render the audio, because you're not sending the video, just the audio. So it renders the audio and then automatically uploads that to the secure server. Now this server, once it's finished uploading, is going to transcribe this, and again, based on the language that you set. So this is a 10-minute interview, and it's showing that it's going to take 5 minutes. So twice as fast to do the transcription. And I looked at the transcription, and it's amazingly accurate. Obviously, you can go and edit different words and things like that. But let me speed this up so you can see the final result. So there you go. That's your final transcription. So these aren't captions yet, and that's a real benefit. Having a transcription and a caption is great. The transcriptions can actually be used for editing purposes. So if you've ever wanted to go to a very long piece of video and find a certain edit where you know you're looking for a word, maybe it's the name of a place or a person, and you can't just look in the timeline and find that, you can search for that in the transcription, and that will find it in the edit. So you don't even have to use captions for the transcription part to work. It's fantastic. It'll just find it. So let's go have a look at what was created in the transcript panel. So first of all, it generically labels them as speaker. If you click on it, you can pick a speaker. You can edit the speakers. So I can edit that name if I want. You can add a number of speakers. This will actually have speaker 1, 2, or 3 as it hears different people. And you can see there's timing at the top, and then there's a bunch of text. This is different, like I said, than a caption, which we'll make in a second. But if we play this video,
traveling is, the way you travel
see it
is
follows.
Really dependent on the individual, what you want to see, what you want to experience. For example, cruising is something, I've never been on a cruise ship myself, but it is a great...
So you can do it that way. You can also jump to words here. So as I'm going through here, it's jumping to that edit point of wherever I... So I saw the word Cuba. So I search for Cuba, there it is. You could search for next example. You could search and replace. So I could replace a certain word. So let's say it's not a specific English word and he said it multiple times, but it easily gets mixed up. I could find that every single place and change it every single place. I love it. Okay, so that's the transcription. Oh yeah, in the top right, you can retranscribe, you can export it, you can import and export. These are grayed out right now because I have something in here, but you can import a transcription if you want. Let me just show you what that looks like. So it looks like the same thing, minus the timing. So it's just the text divided into sections. Okay. So we can create a caption now by clicking on this Create Captions button. And here's the thing I love more than ever. You're not forced to keep a certain format. So if you created a certain format, I'll show you how you can change it to anything. And we can add as many of these as we want. So you can mix and match subtitles and captions. Let's just talk about that for a second because it's different in different countries around the world. Typically in North America, a closed caption file is a specific file and a subtitle is different. But actually in other countries, they just generically call them subtitles. But a closed caption is something that you don't see on the screen until you pick up a remote control and turn it on, or you pick it in a menu. It's a hidden text track that gets seen. And subtitles are burned into the track. We can burn those in if we want. So let's just look at the formats. So here's some formats from Australian OP47, 608 and 708. Those are very typical in North America for closed captions. You wouldn't use those for a subtitle where you want to see it. That's if you're going out to broadcast, which we'll show you in a bit. EBU subtitle, just a generic subtitle, and a teletext. So for our example, let's use 708, which the difference between 608 is it's SD or not HD, SD video, 720/480, and then the 708 is for HD. Then you can have up to 6 services, and if you were on 608, you can have up to 4 services. And what is not apparent, which I'll show you in a minute, when you export this out for broadcast and embed that, it embeds every single one of these. But it's not easy to see that, but it does. And guess what? We can create styles. Ooh, this is good. I'll show you that too. So we can create a blank one or create from the transcript. Click OK and watch up at the top here. A new track is created, and that's the new subtitle or caption track. There it is right there.
Go through customs in Georgia, and then you do the same going.
So the great thing is subtitles and captions won't get lost in your timeline. They're only ever at the top. You can turn them on, you can turn them off, you can turn one on, you can turn them all off. So that's what this little button shows. Right now it's on show all caption tracks. You can hide them and they're still showing.
But certainly no issue.
But it's a way to get rid of them when you're editing. Okay, I don't want to look at them. I've got an edit that I'm doing, but typically you do your edit, you do the captions when you're finished the edit. And then you can just look at the active one only. So if we zoom into this and we go to the captions now you'll see each one of these captions showing up and they get highlighted as it goes over. And the great thing is they're editable. You can double click in here and edit. You can click on here and trim. And you can also, let me get my selection tool. Look at this. You can edit them right in the program monitor. This is what I mean about getting things right. Usually you would see that after 2 or 3 versions of something new, but Adobe has done everything you can think of in these captions. Absolutely brilliant. All right, let's look at formatting these captions. So right now this was 708. So you'll see certain features up here that apply to closed captions. There's a limited amount of styling in closed captions because closed captions, like I said, they don't show on the screen until you push a button. They're actually drawn on the screen by the television that you're viewing. They have that capability. They read the text and they display it. So you can't just pick any font. It's what's in that TV. But you can choose here whether you're looking at fill of whatever color and black and the font. You can also pick what kind of closed captions, and these are the types that you will see. You can pick the formatting, and you'll notice that this is aligned to the bottom, and you can see the box goes up. This is really important if you want 2 lines or 1 line. If you add these, which you can merge them and have 2 lines, you don't want that bottom line to jump up and down. You want the bottom to always stay the bottom and the second line go up above that. That's just for legibility. You can also set where they are. So I can have it go to the top left, top right, middle. And then you can offset that here by changing these values. You can also scale that if you want. And other different types of formatting for italic and superscript, subscript, and things like that. If you right-click just in the header right beside, you can rename this, add a track, delete a track, view this in the text panel, and here's track settings. Now this is where you can change any subtitle or caption format to any other subtitle or caption format. It just makes the whole creation process much easier. What I want to do is add a track. So I'm going to add a subtitle track. I think that's the one I want. You notice the eyeball shuts off. You can only have one selected. But here's what I can do. I can select all of these, copy them, make sure I'm at the beginning, and I'm using my track targeting here and pasting in. So I've just copied one format into another track, and now I've got a subtitle track. So I want to show you the difference. This is a subtitle track, and look at, we've got fill formatting. I could now put a background on there. Oh, there it is. So I've got a background. I can make that larger. I can make that darker. Let's make that full black. So here's the thing. I just edited this one here and not the rest, but this is where track styles work. I can update every single subtitle on this whole track just by pushing this arrow, or I can create a new style, and I'll just call this sub 1. This is a master style, and the master style shows up over here. So if I push this to the style, it's going to ask me if I want to push this to all the captions on the track.
Very early and localized.
See what I mean? They thought of everything. How many times do you want to have a completely different style of one caption? Never. It would be very distracting. Instead, Adobe figures you're smart enough that you want to have that style. Now, if we go back to the 708, remember I said the 708 can't have all these graphic things. So we don't see those when we click on a 708. So look at this. Look at the changes in the essential graphics. Why is that important? It's important because you don't accidentally create things you're not supposed to for 708, 608, embedded or closed caption or sidecar files, which we get in a second. So the subtitles can be any font, any color. We can go crazy with this. So if we turn back on our subtitles, I mean, we could have red text and And again, I'll push this push to track or style, update all the captions. So now my subtitles look like this, and my closed captions look like that. How about that? Unbelievable. So easy. And those master styles, you can export that master style if you want and import that into any other project. Okay, I'm going to open up another version of the same project where I added a few more things. I added French and Spanish, not because I can translate, only because I used Google Translate, which is probably not as accurate as it should be. But I wanted to show you multiple languages in there and editing and things like that. So let's have a look. So this is still the, let's go to the English. So this is still the English one.
From Europe to Canada when I was young, I just really, it got into my blood. I enjoyed nature program. I enjoyed geographical programs. I got into photography at a very early age.
So let's merge those two together.
Photography at a very early age.
So those two, I'm going to shift select both of them. And this button here, I could merge. I could also, if I wanted to, I could take one and split it, but I'm going to merge those and watch what happens down here to those two. So they're now merged together.
I got into photography at a very early age.
Now, if you cut it, the words are not timed. The timing for the captions are not based on words. They're based on blocks. So both blocks will have the exact same words, so you have to edit them accordingly. It's not based on words. That's the way it works. Okay, so as I said, I could split a caption if I want. You can change the timing just by moving these around. So you can't change up here the SMPTE timing, but you can move them around. Every single editing tool, ripple, trim, rolling edit, all of those, razor blade, cut, copy, paste, track targeting, everything you normally use for your clips works for your captions. So you don't have to relearn anything. So let's have a look at the Spanish one.
I have always loved traveling. Ever since that first airplane ride from Europe to Canada when I...
And the French one?
I have always loved traveling. Ever since that first airplane ride from Europe to Canada when I...
So I just, like I said, what I did was I copied this and pasted it in and copied and pasted bit by bit. Now I want to show you that the SRT file, which you can export, this is the transcript with timing in it. If you were sending this out to somebody to do a translation and you wanted the timing to stay the same, don't send them just the text because then you'd have to go to trouble to time it. Instead, if you send the SRT, which you can export out as English, this is what it is. It's a text-only file, and you have them just replace each one of these phrases with the translation and leave the timing. And you can give this to the translator as a .txt file. Don't open this in Word or a text, a formatting text program, because you'll just break things. You want to keep it as a .txt file. And when you get it back, you just change it to a .srt file, literally import it into Premiere Pro and drag it in the timeline. Boom, and you've got a new translated language. Okay, I also want to go to the keyboard shortcuts, which is in the Edit menu on Windows, the Premiere Pro menu on the Mac. And if you search for captions or caption, you'll see that you can add a caption track, add a new caption segment at playhead, edit, select it, merge, select. There's lots of different choices in here. So Adobe has really thought about the fact that some people are going to want to edit right in the timeline and do whatever they need to do. And like in the captions, I could start a new track, a new blank track, and then start typing things in there, because maybe it's not a full transcription. Maybe it's descriptive stuff that occurs every now and again, and you want to add that yourself, descriptive text about what's going on. You can do that very easily. So I've got 3 pages of notes that I want to hope that I make sure I cover everything. Okay, so as I showed you up here, we've got search where we can go to the next one and the previous. You can also, this is where you can export that SRT file. This is where you can export this as a text file. I showed you editing the speakers' names. And just like the transcript, where you could click and jump to a certain spot, and I've got my French, but it should be the English one here. You can also do the same here. You can jump on the captions, and it will jump to that point on the timeline for you. So Adobe has you covered in every way possible for editing: the timing, the words, the styling, everything. Now let's talk about exporting, because if you can't get these out in the right format, it's not going to work. But again, Adobe has you covered. So when we export this out as a regular file, as we've always had in the past, there's always been a captions tab where you can choose how you're going to export this out. A sidecar file is created for formats that don't support embedding. Not every format does. In fact, most consumer formats do not. Only the professional broadcast formats support it. And this is one. This is MXF OP1A. And you can see embedding is an option. And remember I showed you before that 708 can have 6 services and 608 can have 4 services. What this isn't showing you is, although you only have one eyeball turned on in the caption track, if you embed the file in a broadcast format, all of the formats, the 708 and 608, get embedded into one file. And I've imported that in again. If you want to test it, export it out and then import the file in, and I'll show you that in a second. So if you go to other formats that don't support it, like an H.264 format, you'll see embed is now gone. So you can't have that because it doesn't work. But you export out an SRT sidecar file. So when you go to sidecar file, you can pick what they are, and there's the SRT format here. Mac Caption, the .mcc format, again, is a very old, very high-end professional format, and it's not readable. I'll show you what that looks like. So it's for broadcast closed captioning. And like I said, there's the SRT file that you'll be exporting. The SRT file is what you can import into YouTube. Now, what I find really interesting here, and this is again Adobe thinking ahead, is in the past, when someone created a 708 or 608 embeddable format and you wanted to burn it in, Adobe always said, well, you can't do that. You have to convert this into a subtitle file, and then you can burn it in. Look at this. I can turn anything into a burn-in caption, and I can pick the service that I want. So burn-in and sidecar work for any format at all. If you had just closed caption formats, it would work. If you had subtitle, it works. But the embed is only for professional formats. Oh yeah, and when you are, if you do pick the SRT subtitle format, you can also include the styling. So it's not just going to go in as generic text. If you've gone to all the trouble to style this based on what you like, that's also exported too. All right, so I mentioned importing. So this is the imported file that I brought in. It doesn't keep the custom names, but it keeps all the translation I added. So you can see there's French, there's my Spanish, and there's my English. I exported out as MXF OP1A, and I said embed. There was no sidecar files. That's the clip right there that I interview.mxf. I just dropped that into a new timeline, and all the subtitles just popped up. Now you do have to have this turned on, and this is on by default. But if you have this turned on, your subtitles won't be imported. So in the preferences, in media, I believe it is, yes, include captions on import. That's turned on by default, but if you actually turned it off, then when you import something with embedded captions, they won't show up. Okay, now I wanted to show you where the captions are in YouTube. So I've already embedded this, but if you look over on the left, subtitles, and you can add a language, and you're basically picking the local SRT file that you exported out. So I created a caption, I manually made the Spanish text and then spit that out. So now if we watch this on YouTube,
I have always loved traveling.
And you
Ever
turn
since
on the
that first
captions
airplane
here.
ride from Europe to Canada when I was young, I just really, it got into my blood. I enjoyed nature program. I enjoyed geographical programs. I got into photography at a very...
So there you go. Adobe got everything right and anticipated all of our needs for creating captions for YouTube, for broadcast, for international. Everything is covered. Editing is easy. Creating, transcribing, all of that stuff. And they've got all the exports options covered. Adobe, thank you so much for making it really good. Now, the other thing that's different is when you open new programs or old programs in this version of Premiere Pro, because this captioning is different, the project file format is new. So if you open old captions, they will be converted, but you can't go back. So this is a new project, a new caption tracks. Everything's new and it works perfectly. And thanks again to Jonathan Van Bilsen, Photos and Travel. Like I said, have a link. Go watch some of his great stuff. He's such a great writer. It's very captivating. Okay, so hey, if you're new to Video Revealed and you found this informative, take a moment and subscribe. You want to support us more, you can do that on videorevealed.com/shop, where you can support us with a donation of once or monthly. There's a bunch of free stuff and some titles and split screens you can download. Till next time, I'm Colin Smith, and it's my job to dig deep into a new feature and make sure Adobe gets it all right for you.